Hi, mate. So, Yaroba, the last place I was in, or during my stay with Trish and Brett, we went to see a place called Yaroba that the natives live in. So me and Marcelo heard it from a woman called Patty, or Patricia, and it was in the Aboriginal land near the coast of Cairns, just by a very beautiful spot actually, and very nice actually. And the project was to establish a food garden there for the local community and educate them as well on how to grow food, because they had a very poor diet there. So the aim was to educate and let the locals run the whole garden eventually. And Marcelo had been looking for a nice place where he could stay for a bit longer and really develop his gardening skills. And he's from Brazil as well, so yeah, we went there, and Patty met us on the way, and she's such a nice woman, very beautiful and open and kind and very pure and honest, and she really wanted this project running. And when I arrived there, I could really feel a tremendous amount of energy at this place, like very expansive and very positive energy. It was owned by an Aboriginal man named Paul, and it was his aim as well to get this project going. And they had been praying for it to run because they have had some difficulties in getting it running. And so I felt it was a really good opportunity to do some really good work here because they really wanted it. And it was perfect for Marcelo because he had done courses in agroforestry by Ernst Götsch, I think his name is. And the technique was something I really liked and would recommend and perhaps do myself one day. It combines orchards, organic mulch, uh, organic mulch species and garden under the same space. Like, it seems very practical and logic, but we'll see. Um, but we've spent one night there to get a first impression of the place, and I really encouraged him to stay there after we had been at Trish and Brett's, but which he did later, I found out. But during our time there, we helped setting up the systems by Ernst Götsch with the help of the Green Army, which is like a volunteer youth group for the young people to travel around and help in different kind of projects. Such a nice idea actually, and really helpful. And together with them, we set up a 3 by 5 meter plot according to Ernst's method, and it looked really promising. I think now they have expanded the area even more, and hopefully it will become dense and populated with veggies and fruits. We also took a tour to where the locals live and see how it looked like, and you could see that they could really benefit from something like this. It wasn't like a rundown or criminal place, but it felt more like stagnation and of energy, and like the injection of positive energy would help this going. And Patty also took us together with Paul deep into the Aboriginal land where really only they were allowed to go, and where they lived as well. And this was by the coast of Yarrabah. And I think, and when I think of Australian Aboriginals, I'm thinking like of deserts, but this was by the coast, so it was lush and beautiful forests. And she told me that Bigfoot lives here, and that she had spotted him on 2 occasions. And this was actually the second time I've heard Bigfoot being spotted in Australia, because Darren from Fruitopia had also spotted him on his ventures in the forest, like clear as day, no mistaking it for something else. So yeah, I believe him, because yeah, he's been around, he's been there. And later on the day that I left, before I left, Patty invited us to stay at her and her mom's place in Cairns to talk a bit more about the project and what had happened. And here I got a really good feeling about her and her transparency and openness in general. And Marcelo took me around in Cairns as well a little bit, and we had ice cream and went to the beach before going to Patty's. And at Patty's we had a nice dinner and talk, and I really remember those moments. and it brings up such a nice warm feeling in me. And yeah, so it was my last day in Australia, and the night before it had rained really heavily, and so the causeway was flooded, and we couldn't walk out that way because it was like a roaring river with water up to your waists when I had to look at the river. Remember that causeway, Trish at Brett's? That was the day before we were, well, actually the day we were going to Paddy's. The day before it had like rained heavily, and yeah, there was no way we were getting out. So, but there was a back way, like, so me and Marcelo packed all of our things and headed out, like, together with Brett, and he walked us to show us the way. It was like a 30-minute walk through nice pastures and some forest, and it actually felt like Lord of the Rings a little bit on those pastures, but uh, yeah, but we managed to get through and ended up in the car, and actually this, yeah, uh, yeah, so after that, after being at Paddy's, and and Marcelo took me to the airport and thanked me for everything, and I thanked him and hoped and wished for the best, and that he would continue working in Yarrabah, which he did, which I think was really nice, and I hope it turned out okay. I'm actually gonna go and check out and have an update, because he was going to be there for 3 months, so that period should have ended, yeah, a while ago, a long time ago. So, but he did give me an update, like after a month or a month and a half. So we'll see how it is looking. So my trip was now at its end, and I was sort of happy and relieved somehow. Like my life had changed dramatically. Like it felt weird somehow. Like I couldn't go back to think how things was. Some of the choices I made back home didn't make sense, so I don't know why, but I knew I had to move to the countryside, and that was the first thing on my list. So